What happens in a practice like today's when you kind of run out of one specific position?
You just keep going, and you do what you do in a game. Stuff happens in the game. You got to switch personnel groupings. You got to be able to deviate off the schedule and off the scripted plan, and be able to get the other guys out there and give them opportunities. Like nothing better than like that happening in these type of environments. You want to strain these guys into the point of where they can go. Take ourselves into deep water a little bit and find a way to swim. And I think those are the things that we had to do today. I love this style of practice. I love the physicality of it all. I love the guys being able to fight through it and get all the stuff that you want to get done today. Couldn't be more proud of how we accomplished that today.
Early on in practice, it looked like you and Deebo were catching up, having a nice conversation. Obviously, you probably can't get the details of it, but what is it like to have him there, if you can get the details?
I've hated him so long, and it's so nice to have him back in a friendly atmosphere. But he's been one of those guys that's been a highly competitive guy in the National Football League that you got to deal with. No matter what the circumstance of the game is, what the situation is of the game, you got to be aware. He's the ultimate piece that can move around, and you have to game plan around because his ability to run the football, his ability to line up at receiver, his ability to take screens, his ability to do a bunch of different things on special teams, whether it be return man or whatever the case may be. He's so versatile, and we've used him so well in the Bay for so long that we were kind of catching up. Caught up yesterday, but it's always good to see him, a face that's familiar around this building, and getting him back is really cool.
What are your memories of facing him in two really kind of consequential games at the end of the?
Let's just sum it up in this. I don't know. I think it was 22. And he caught this pass on us that we should have picked off, and I think he took it for about 60. And I think he was a free agent, and it played every day that summer. I couldn't watch ESPN for the entire summer because I kept watching Deebo score a 60-yard touchdown on us. So those are the biggest memories I got on him, with him making big-time plays on us and them finding ways to get him the ball in unique situations and getting him the ball in space, and we know what he can do in space.
Raheem, the rookie defensive tackles, Thompson and Eason, showing power and quickness and speed and all that in the one-on-ones. How do you see the D-tackle rotation behind Osa? Is it competitive?
It really is. You got to go even. One of our guys is out right now, and Halton, he started off really well. You got C.J. West out there. You got a bunch of different guys. Got big AC coming back, and then some of even the young guys, they've really stepped up and done some really good things. So it's nice to see those guys getting reps, getting opportunities, seeing them have to fight through days like this. That's what the league is about. Fighting through days like this, finding a way to contribute, and those guys are all finding ways to be significant contributors in that room, and it all play out, as we go further and further in the camp.
What is the level of concern when you have so few edge rushers available at the moment?
It's hard to say level of concern. You got Bosa out there, you got Romello Height, Mykel Williams is coming back off injury. They're going to all come back at some point. You got Keon White out there. You got a bunch of different guys that can give you such a presence. And then you got different people that can provide different type of rush mechanisms. When you're talking about Fred, you're talking about Greenlaw, you're talking about even the safety position with a guy like Tig, trying to utilize and find different ways to mix it up to get rush, pressure and things that you're able to do. It's hard to say concern. It's more for me like, the chess pieces that can move around and give you different tools and different things that can happen and how you work them.
Does the film from practice capture the Trent and Bosa doing their one-on-one thing on the side, and do you get a chance to watch them?
That's their own personal thing. Those guys, Bosa goes and gets them, and he does his own work. A lot of times he pulls Trent, he gets his one-on-one reps and things that he has to do, and then he goes over with Bosa and kind of helps those guys. And, when you see two vets like that working together, you kind of want to get away. Let those guys do what they do. That's why they're great. Whatever the greatness that they're searching and the little intricate details that they're trying to get done over there, let those guys go and do those things. Those little private moments. I know they're right in front of you guys, so they're not that private, but that's the things that they do. I kind of walk away when I see that kind of stuff.
You mentioned Tig. What are your impressions of him so far?
Tig and a lot of the other safeties have been really impressive. They've gotten hands on the balls, having a chance to knock some passes down, do a bunch of different things as far as covering, watching these guys really gain grasp of the defense and really communicate at a very high level with Fred. It's hard not to when you got those guys out there at the linebacker position doing what they do. To be able to read, right call, and be able to communicate with those guys is really easy. So I'm very impressed with the guys being able to pick it up and how much they love football. That's the real cool part about this place.
What's the Diameter of the North? He's known to be like very.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Deebo.
Okay. I remember anybody say his real name in so long. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Deebo. He's known to be very competitive around the league, but then you see him out there really excited to go up against guys like Mike Evans. A little bit today against Deebo Samuel. What have you seen from him? Especially in 11-on-11 drills, but from the competitor that he is. Deebo's
one of those guys like you're talking about being highly competitive. So when he's playing against Mike, gold jacket type of guy in practice, and then you get back Deebo, and we know what Deebo brings from as far as a competitive standpoint, along with the D-Robs, along with, all the other wideouts that we got, the young striblings. So there's a bunch of different guys out there that provide different challenges, and I really love how he's accepting it. He's going out there trying to find out his spots, picking his spots to play really aggressive, picking his spots to play, really smart, picking his spots to be able to utilize his help, being able to understand the defense at a very high level. I mean, it's all really competitive for him on the grass, but it's just as competitive for him inside the grass. It seems simple for those guys, but they got little moments that they can pick, and I love how they're picking those moments. Him and Ronaldo has really, stood out in that way. To be able to go find him and Jack as well, being able to go find those moments. I mean, Luter, a bunch of different guys have made some plays. So it's like they're finding those moments in those places where they can make plays, and it's really cool to watch.
Ray, given your history and background, if Aaron Donald does come back, would you say he could be Aaron Donald again?
It's Aaron Donald. So, those kind of guys are what they are, and they can do whatever they put their mind to. They got those different mentalities, those different people. We all know those people in sports. I think we talk about all the time that Kobe Bryant, those Michael Jordans, those Aaron Donalds, those people like that. Different conversation.
Would you counsel him to stay retired if you could?
I'm not going to counsel him to do anything. You can counsel him to stay retired, and he may come back just to spite you. So, I'm sure he is a grown man, and he's going to make a grown man decision, whatever it is, whenever he decides to make it.
How has Osa Digazua's acclimation been to the defense?
It's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch him come in, and then really, the first thing I noticed was his routine. His daily routine and how hard he works and how much he does for himself to keep himself ready to go. So those are the nosy moments you have as a coach where you can ask those things, man. When did this start? And he just talked about his history and, growing up and, having a brother that played as well and being able to adapt some of those things from different people in the places that he's been and watching him go through his process and how long he's able to be in the building. His mental stamina to stay within the framework of what we're doing and to figure out how good he can be. I really appreciate that about him. So, his presence being graced upon us in the building with, great smile, great energy, person that loves football and really comfortable with himself. Those are all really great qualities to bring to a different team.
Coach, how would you evaluate Jay Duggar so far through camp, and where is he at in his development?
He's doing great. The young man has really stepped up on special teams, showing his ability to contribute immediately. Everybody's special team is kind of the proving ground. And when you go out there and you show physicality out there, that really helps it. So, when Brand and Colt and those guys give those guys those kind of credits, and then that gives them the ability to get out there and play even more defense and get more confidence, watching them grow every single day and learn from every single, I can't say mistake, but correction, whatever that correction is, I think is always something that's fun when you're talking about those younger players. And he's, within his room, there's not a lot of talking I have to do to him. He's got Fred and Greenlaw, who are players in that room, along with guys like Wallow and Tatum that have been in this system and been in the system and been around those guys and how to prepare. And then the coaches in that room, talking about Johnny Holland and KJ Wright, guy that's played a long time. They both played in the league. They both coached a long time. Well, Johnny's coached a long time, and he's got a bunch of knowledge he's able to get and acquire every single day, and he's eating it all up.
Renardo was saying the other day that Renardo was saying the other day he felt like you have done a good job of kind of stripping things down to so that they can play fast, simplifying things enough that it's more digestible. Can you just explain what he might mean by that? What are some of the methods you use to try to do that to make?
It's hard to say without giving away all Renardo's secrets, but it's like having such a DB background, it's like you're able to relate to those guys and what's important. And then it's like trying to find ways that they can take shots and have opportunities to make plays. This whole league is based on those guys making plays. Nobody cares if you go out there and cover a guy and they don't get a catch. They care about what the significance of the plays that you made were. And he's found ways to make significant plays throughout camp and throughout the offseason. And he's growing every single day as he learned, and his communication with his safeties and what he should be and how he should be and what he should look like. I think those things have all gotten better for him. And that's probably what he's talking about, and it's like being able to give him those details and be able to talk to him and coach those guys. And again, he has another big time veteran in his room, and Jerry Gray that's played a lot of football. He's caught a lot of interceptions in his league. He's coached a lot of really great DBs, and he's able to get it from, everybody, all walks of life and within his building. Ray Brown, he's got a ton of coaches in there, and I'm only a contributor to be able to help those guys.
Was there something you saw with him, either on tape or even in your conversations with him, where maybe he was overthinking or something that did need to strip it down a little bit?
It was less about that. It was more about my evaluation from college, what I knew about him and who he could be. It was kind of the relationship that he had with Jalen Ramsey, obviously being a Florida State guy. It was obviously some of those immediate relationships that was able to help me, really, get in with him before even going dark about anything that went wrong within the past here. I mean, that's the corner's position, right? There's only two positions in the National Football League that get all the criticisms, tackles and corners. It is what it is. That's the life we chose. And it's like you got to find a way to ignore the noise and find a way to be the best version of yourself every day.
Yesterday in practice, Fred and Dre had aggressive moments. Given the fact they're veterans and have been there for a long time, is it necessary to give them a protect your teammates message, or do you like a bit of that edge, or how do you handle situations like that?
That's a part of us, right? We always talk about protecting the team. That's something that we talk about every single day, whether it's in the defensive unit rooms, whether it's in our team meetings, whether it's in our position rooms. That's a major part of what we do. And you always get tempers to flare. And when you're talking to those adults, it's easy to be really critical and hard on those guys about what we wanted to look like. And they know what we wanted to look like. You can tell by their body language after, even when it happens. I told Fred the other day, he's starting to fight in practice and he's walking up the field and he's kissing every baby that's in sight. I'm like, you are the ultimate guy. And then they're very correctable moments that gives your head coach an opportunity to go in there and talk to the very best players in your football team every day and correct those things. And when people see that, that gives great examples. So it's always good. You don't want them. You wish they would do it right away, but if that was the case, they wouldn't need us. And that's what we're here for.
There's a lot of players in this league that really like playing for you, and when you lose a defensive end, does a guy like Leonard Floyd blow up your phone? And you've had him a couple times. What has he done for your defense in the past?
Leonard Floyd is a phenomenal football player. He's he's even a better human, and he's the kind of high quality guys that you always want to be around. But it's not that he blows up my phone. I mean, those things all happen within the workings of our group upstairs, and obviously. You're always going to have an input. You're always going to have a say. They're always going to come to you and be very, ask the questions, ask the things. And Leonard's been here, so we know what he's about. We know what those kind of guys are about. So those things could possibly happen. You never know. You always keep guys. They're always shirtless. There's things that happen all the time. We got great people in place to do those things. RJ and Josh and all those guys in that personnel department that are constantly looking every single day. You got a lot of credit, a lot of respect for those guys.
How was Nick Martin doing? And you're talking about Fred and Dre as being on the field, not just in that room, but on the field as the third linebacker with them, something that can really speed up his development.
The pads came on yesterday, and he really showed up. Had one of his better days yesterday with his pads. You can see the ability to run around and be physical and hit. You can see his explosion. You can see the things where he drafted. You see a lot of the traits, and he's continuing to grow every single day. So being out there with those two guys won't hurt. I can tell you that much. So having the ability to get him out there and compete at a very high level, that's what you want. You want highly competitive spots, highly competitive people at all those spots going out there competing at a big time level.